You have a bunch of onions, but you also have a bunch of carrots and spinach and avocados and lettuce and corn. And what's the total of onions as a percentage to this total list of produce? How about what's the total percentage of carrots to this entire list? A lot of information here. What is used? What is not? Here, we're going to use a bunch of different tools to come up with, well, the total number of corn and its percentage as a whole. We're going to use COUNTIFs and EDATE. What's EDATE? Tell you all about it. About COUNTIF alone. About COUNTIF and count. And then COUNTIF again. Brad Williams, Excel Prime. When you put together a worksheet, pay attention to whoever you're presenting this to. This, I would probably fire someone, because this is a bloody nightmare, and that's the point of this exercise. The formulas and stuff do their job, but the presentation, a pivot table would probably be a better format. Here's what we're trying to do. We want, the end of this thing is what percentage of products is shown. When somebody hands something off to you, and then you hand it off to someone else, try to decipher this thing. Here, the critical factor, and this is common. We're looking at stuff, we're focusing on the units. We're not focusing on the fine detail. What's the fine detail? The dates. The dates are critical here because we have overlaps. And what do I mean by overlaps? We have a beginning date. Now, don't look at this next month date, but the way this thing is set up, I did this just to make it hard on myself. This is probably going to be very difficult for you to pick up originally. The first part of this thing, we want to count the months that are within this parameter. What's the parameter? Well, look here. We have this COUNTIF date 7/4 greater than or equal to J7 date 7/4 less than EDATE. You're going, what? Yeah, we're just counting. We're counting how many, if there's overlap, then count it. So in other words, and pretend this next month isn't here. That's all EDATE is doing. We're taking this date and then we're extending it by 1 month, but you can't see this. Pretend you can't see this. And you're looking at this thing going, what am I trying to do? You're counting this date and then anything that fits it within this 30-day period. Well, there's two dates, 7/19, 8/19, then 8/18 fits within, it fits in between 7/19 and 8/19. It's also counted. You go down one, you can only count one. Units is not the term. You can see what nightmare this is. The next question is, well, how many units are within this guideline? In terms of units, it's availability. You see availability, it says 1, 2, 3, and here we have availability. It's asking, and this has to be exact, how many ones are within this range in the timeline? You can see there are 2 available. They don't equal 1. The next criteria is, well, how many fit in 2? In other words, how many number 2 units are in here? If the highlights aren't in here, you're going to go, what the hell's going on? Here, if you look at this first count, there's going to be 2. There's going to be 2 2s. Why? Because available 1 and available 2. You go down in 8/18, there's only 1 2 available. And then are there any 3s available? No. And if you go down, you ask the same question, well, 7/5/30, there's only going to be 1 date within this requirement. If you go down 1, there's going to be 2. The question is in terms of availability, and I'm doing this on purpose. And notice the dates, if we turn this around and make it much easier to read, it is what it is. In terms of availability, 7/5 to 8/5, we're going to look at this entire range, and because there's only 1, and I'm trying to help you out here, but this could be a scatter plot. not in any kind of order. You can see how ridiculous this is. I would never present this to anyone because trying to present it to you is going to be difficult enough. And it's going to take a bit to try to explain this. Forget 7.4 is there and go 7.5 to 8.5. How many dates in this range fit between this date and pretend this next month? This is the EDATE function here. You see this EDATE? This is simply this. I put it here so you can try to understand. But if you're looking at this, COUNTIFs date 7.4. Date 7.4 is this J7, J5 to J26. Dates greater than J17. J17 is 7.5. Greater than or equal to, and less than EDATE J17 1 month. What? There's EDATE J17 1. I'm just helping you out here. So somebody gives this to you, this is not available. You're going, what am I? I have to try to look through this and see if there are any dates between 7.5, 30 days ahead, or 31, or whatever it is. And then I have to count those units? Are you crazy? Well, that's how it is. The second is I need to count everything 7.4 greater than this date and equal to. That's why there's 2.
Be sure to check out all of our Excel courses. Excel data and text manipulation. We have an advanced beginners and intermediate course. Excel essentials. This is for individuals new to Excel. We have an advanced, excellent beginners, level 1 and level 2, and intermediate level course. Excel formulas, formulas only. We have a beginner, an advanced, and an intermediate level course. Click on any of the links. There's a short video that explains everything about the course. Check it out.
Throw your hands up. You're going, this is whoever. I was reading some information and I just thought this was not presentable. And I'm bringing this up because it really is not presentable. You do not want to do this. Then, starting here, this next requirement is COUNTIF dates. Well, the same layout, but then you have to go through availability. So you have to go through this entire list and find units that equal 1 that fit within 7.5 and some other date. Well, I put the 8.5 here, so you know 7.5 to 8.30. Are there any 7.5s to 8.30? Well, fortunately, you can see there's only 1, but you can just see the nightmare this is. The point of this entire exercise is to figure out how many carrots over here in this entire range fit this requirement. COUNTIF, and this is the simple part. You can ignore this whole thing here, but if somebody starts asking and you can't answer the question, like how many units, how many fit within this timeline, et cetera, to this part, item 7.4, D5 to D26. We have this list here. And the question is, how many equal carrots? This is the simple part, okay? How many carrots are in here? There's 2. How many onions are there? Carrots should be consistent throughout because we're counting an entire range. Hit F9, just so we can get a mix here. Lettuce, in this entire list, there's only 1 lettuce. There's 3 avocado, there's 6 spinach, and 3 carrots. If you don't care about this availability, then just ignore the opening of this tutorial. But the point is, you better be able to explain this data. Here, percentage, how are we going to do this? We're just going to take this 1 and divide it by the count of this entire range. Is that 20 different items? We're going to go 1, item 7.4 Q5, which is this, and then we're just going to take the sum of the whole thing. Item 7.4, count all of this. This should equal, I think it's either 19 or 20, F9. F9 is 22, and this is going to be 9. Let's see if this will help us out here. Well, it's 1. F9, and it doesn't help us. It did show us something here. F9, nope, it doesn't. Well, then you just go 1 minus 22. When you're doing a percentage, I suggest you always sum it up just by looking at this. There's 22 items. We only accounted for 13, which represents 59%. In terms of this thing, you can see how much confusion there is by parsing this thing. This is the analysis that you need to be cognizant of, because somebody in the room may be extremely aware of this stuff. And they start questioning you, and you go, well, you didn't ask me for that. Well, that's not the answer. Why did we use count A? You can always use count, but if there's a blank in here, it's going to blow your model up. Here is the anatomy for this date thing. It's just a nightmare. Here's the anatomy for units, and here's the anatomy for percentage, and then here's the anatomy for unit, for availability. Over here, you can read it. I kind of just explained to you how to go about this. Give me your opinion. Tell me that, this is this units or month count. This should probably be months, or something to that effect. Just let me know what you think here. Okay? I think matches is a better term for this. And just give me your feedback on this one. I don't like this. I just don't like it. Here's my general rule. If I can't resolve this a matter of, or if I can't read this, less than a minute or two, then I think there's something wrong. Even though I put this thing together, when I re-reviewed it, I had to spend 10 minutes trying to figure it out. That is a no-no. The point is, keep it simple. And this is not simple. Brad Williams, Excel Primed.